Hi, welcome to weeks 2 of the Natty's Finest Fantasy Football League. And as you know, I'm your commissioner, Commissioner Rob. Not to be confused with this B Rob character. You know who you are out there, whoever's making these accusations, they're just plain wrong. And I don't like them. You know, he's not him, and I am not that guy. With that said, let's get into the matchups and the week 1 recap. Starting off with EA Sports and them boys. Both teams made the playoffs last year. Both teams would like to start off the season on a good note. Unfortunately, this was not the case for them boys, getting blown out of the water, 145 to 68. Granted, the 145 for EA Sports was the highest total points for Week 1. And if you recall, players from last year, this was a Week 1 matchup last year, and the same thing happened. EA Sports putting up big numbers, actually winning the Week 1 prize last year. So this is familiar territory for them boys. Some key players for EA Sports. Arian Foster, what a week, 4 touchdowns, 200 plus yards. Miles Austin, 1 touchdown, 100 plus yards. And Wes Welker on his return back to the league with 2 touchdowns. Some key performances for EA Sports. And don't let B-Rob make any excuses out there. His 12th overall pick is not an excuse for him only putting up 68 points. He's going to need to step it up. Matter of fact, he gets my step up mark of the week for next week. He's going to need to put a better performance on, plain and simple. Franchise versus America's team. I have to bring to the attention right now, there's been a lot of discussion on the league message board, and I quote, championship. It's a wrap, fellas. I have to take the time out to distance myself this year. Good luck to the 2nd and 3rd place teams. Holla, bitches, end quote. Franchise. Yes, you did win the first 2 Natty's Finest championships. After that, I don't even think you've been to the playoffs, and we're supposed to be scared right now. I don't think anyone is scared after your first week's performance, losing to America's team 113 to 77, 113 to 77. I'm sorry, and it does look out like they have a good duo over there at America's team with their new acquisition, Tyler Sheehan, bringing some inside NFL insight to the team. C3 versus Team Gully, last year's Super Bowl winner. One of our closer matchups of Week 1, only a 20-point difference. The quarterbacks were big in this game. Peyton Manning putting up big numbers, 50 points, even though he lost. And Philip Rivers putting up 30 points himself. In the end, C3 did take the victory, winning 92 to 72. Next game between Team Kaiser and the much talked about Team Backups. If you remember last week, I did red flag this team, Team Backups and their draft. You know, I don't like to boast, but I was right out there, you know, Fantasy Football Nation. These guys were only able to muster up a total of 67 points, I think the 2nd lowest this week. I ask you, Fantasy Nation out there, is it you know, easy enough to rule this team out right now? Is it a no-brainer they're not going to make the playoffs? And that's a rhetorical question. I'll let you guys answer that. Team Kaiser, however, did put up big numbers. You know, big ups to them. 2nd most points of Week 1. 134 total points, most of which came from the illustrious play of Matt Forte with that long 89-yard run, I think. So, you know, big ups, Team Kaiser. The number 1 overall draft pick, Chris Johnson and Team Wildcats, did not disappoint this week with over 100 points total in Week 1. Chris Johnson on his way to the 2,500-yard season he once, putting up 38 points and over 150 rushing yards. Squad up, you made it a good game, only losing by 19, but the Indian score was 102 to 83. You know, do better next week. Lastly but not least, well, actually one of these teams might be in that category. We have You Just Got Moss versus Saints Nation. Yet again, I don't like to boast when I'm correct, but I did red flag these gentlemen too last week in Saints Nation. I'm talking to you. These guys had the overall number 3 pick in the draft. I have to stress that, and they only put up 65 points. That was the lowest total put up in Week 1. While You Just Got Moss had a big performance by Carson Palmer and Rashard Mendenhall, totaling 59 points. Those 2 guys almost beat, you know, Saints Nation. They put up 59 points. Saints Nation put up 65. Okay, on to this week's matchups. We have 2 big games. Franchise versus them boys. Both teams lost badly during Week 1, and I anticipate both of these teams will put up big points. They're just too good of teams not to put up over 100 points this week and get back in the winning circle. And EA Sports versus C3, two undefeated teams, two teams that want to start the season off 2-0, and they did have easy routes in week 1. We'll see what it's like with a more difficult challenger in week 2. All right, might see a guy to my right, your left over there, out there in fantasy world. At this time, I'd like to honor this week's award winner, week 1, highest point total by starters with 145 points and beating them boys. EA of EA Sports, how you doing there, sir?
I'm doing good.
Great. Glad to have you here, and glad you could take the time out to talk to us about last week and some stuff you have on your mind. Talk about the lack of performance by your overall number 1 and number 3 pick, Steven Jackson. Let me get into that before I get into something else, and then we'll also talk about how does it feel to to start off the season so well, and how are you going to continue this down the road?
Well, it feels great after a second round loss last year to Team Golly, which is a Super Bowl chance. Made a rookie mistake of starting Denver's D against Oakland at home and didn't start Philly, which caused me to lose. So then, not many people know, but I came in 3rd last year, and I was only a rookie. And I also defeated Team Franchise first round, who's supposedly they're supposed to be the shit. I don't know.
Okay, well said. As I stated before, talk about your number 1 and number 3 overall pick. Your number 1 overall pick out there was Steven Jackson, and your number 3 was Matt Schaub. Both put up very poor numbers in week 1, even though you did win. Do you think it's a problem having Schaub and Foster in your lineup? When one or the other, is doing good, the other may be doing bad.
First, I'm going to touch on Steven Jackson because he didn't get the ball too much because I don't know what they were thinking out there in St. Louis. They decided that they were going to run. Pass the ball 50-something times with a rookie quarterback, which is ridiculous. I don't know why anyone would do that. And Schaub didn't need to throw the ball. He had Arian Foster going off, and then which pretty much just says it for itself right there.
Right.
And I don't see Arian Foster and Schaub being a problem on the same team of my team, because I see it more as a 1-2 punch. If one goes off, the other one's going to go off. If the other one doesn't go off, the one's going to go off.
Okay, so, well said. If it happens, you're going to look like a genius. If not, we'll see how the league treats you. How close were you to starting the 36-point effort of Jay Cutler? He's your second string quarterback, obviously, with Matt Schaub. How close were you to starting him on your bench?
I was real close to starting him because he's playing the Lions. The Lions are terrible. Everyone knows the Lions are terrible, but also Jay Cutler hasn't been anything since he left Denver and Shanahan and Marshall. So. He's missing key components there. And besides a 89-yard touchdown to Forte, he really didn't do anything. That was half his points.
Good point.
Other than that, he had 2 turnovers, and I think he's going to lead the league in turnovers again this year.
Very valid point. Probably the biggest free agent pickup thus far. It is only week 2, granted. Probably the biggest free agent pickup thus far is Brandon Jackson. When Ryan Grant went down, people were shuffling to get Brandon Jackson. We did, on the transaction board, see a 4:31 a.m. in the morning pickup. That was this guy over here. Do you see him worthy of starting on your team over a Steven Jackson, over an Arian Foster, over Jamal Charles, or even Jabba Best? Do you see him starting?
See, now there's just the other reason for me picking him up was because I'm playing the guy who has Ryan Grant this week, and I don't know. He could start on my team. I more or less have him right now as trade bait. I need a tight end, so anyone out there trying to make trades or something, I got him out there. I know some people are probably in running back trouble.
Okay. Lastly, but not least, do you have anything you'd like to say to the league out there? This is your FaceTime, your opponent next week, maybe even a specific team owner. You got it. It's all you, EA.
First, I'd like to start off with Team Franchise. You predicted you had the championship team, and considering you only put up, 78, 79 points, considering my bench put up 65, but that's almost as many as you. Mm-hmm. And your team, I doubled your team's points, and I beat you also in the first round of the playoffs. I think I said that earlier last year. I just like for you to step your game up, son.
Okay.
And also, I would like to have another say at Aints Nation. That's right, Aints Nation, no S there. Aints Nation. My team scores as many points as your stars on my bench. And last but not least, I'd like to thank everyone out there for letting me pick up Arian Foster in the 7th round. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thanks, EA Sports. Thank you for taking down week's 1 prize. Everyone know week 2 is the highest points by an individual out there. That's individual, not a team. and I need your money. If you haven't gave it to me, don't let me go out there and chase you. This is me week 2 saying that. I'm not angry right now. And good luck. This is League Commissioner signing.